Today's best mix, Magic 106. That is TylerShaw and Kiss Goodnight. That is the song that started it all for my next guest and the headliner for tonight's show at River Run Center. TylerShaw is here. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I always like to ask, and since we just came off of Kiss Goodnight, where were you and what did it feel like when you heard your song on the radio for the first time?
I think I saw a radio station tweet it at me. And this was 6 years ago. So I pulled up online the radio station and then I heard it on my computer. I wish it was more of a glamorous story than that, but that's the reality and that's what happened. Yeah.
Awesome. So you originally you hail from out west?
That's right. Yeah.
And you make your home in Toronto now?
That's right. 6 years ago. Yeah.
Talk to us about how it all started with the contest. That's what got you to where you are, the Much Music Covers contest. Talk to us about that.
Totally. Yeah, no, the contest was back in 2012, and through that I met Sony Music, and we released that song you just heard. And then I got an album deal because they said, oh, this kid has some potential. And lo and behold, we have one album out, and now I have my second one out right now. So, yeah, it feels really, really good.
How did that feel when it wasn't some, unknown record company, right? This is Sony Music. It doesn't get much bigger than that. And they said, we see something in you. We want to give you an album deal. What was that like?
It was awesome. It was very flattering, and I just kind of went with it. And I knew I had something to prove because I had a lot of hard work and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into my music back then, and even still. So I was like, let's go, let's do it.
We were talking off air that you are a singer-songwriter, and that's pretty cool. So how do you, what does that mean to you to have such a hand in your own material?
I think it's super important, for me at least as an artist, to be able to create the stuff that I'm going to be singing on stage, because it does add more meaning to your performance and more meaning behind the lyrics or the melodies that you're creating. It just adds that much more emotion.
It's the authenticity part.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is really cool tonight because you got the new album out, Intuition, but tonight's show here in Guelph at River Run Center isn't even necessarily part of the tour. This is kind of a sneak peek about the tour, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun 50-minute set. I'm playing a bunch of the new songs from the album and a couple of throwbacks for sure because you got to play the hits. So it's going to be tons of fun here, yeah.
What was it? What was your original plan? Everybody, you probably weren't, in high school thinking, I want to be a singer-songwriter. Maybe you were, but what was the original plan for your life?
Honestly, it was between professional soccer or music. And I was actually chasing the soccer dream 6 years ago when I went to the university on a scholarship. And then the music thing happened. I was like, oh, okay, well, let's do this instead. So it all worked out. Here we are. Like you said, second album's out now, and everything's great. The feedback of it is astonishing, and I couldn't be happier.
And talk to us about the creation of the second album. When you do an album, do you set out with a vision first, and then is it a concept, or how do you do that?
It's a lot of trial and error. I started creating this album 2.5 years ago. And it was, it wasn't like, oh, write this song. Oh, this is going to go on the album. It was like I wrote upwards of hundreds of songs. And it wasn't until I think half of that time I got in and I was like, okay, now I know the direction. Now I know what the sound is. And here's what I want to talk about and yada, yada, yada. So it took a lot of trial and error, but we got it.
I think a lot of people don't realize that, right? I think a lot of people you jump into a studio, you cut 13 songs, you sell the album, and boom. I don't think they realize what the process is in building it out, right?
It's a lot, because then you get those days where you have writer's block. Sometimes even weeks where you're like, there's nothing coming right now, and that's okay. You need to learn that is okay, and it will come back to you eventually. So
yeah, because I've talked to songwriters before, and I've talked to ones that are like stable writers for a record company. Their job is to go in and write songs 9 hours a day, and I think it's got to be days where you just got nothing.
Yeah, not all the songs that I wrote were good songs. I didn't say that, right? So yeah, you just have to keep going.
And how many songs did you have to begin with that you whittled down to the album?
I honestly don't even know. Oh, really? Like tons, like hard drives and hard drives of songs. Yeah.
Well, save those for the box set when you're ready to retire, right? Those will be the Tylershaw uncut songs.
Exactly. Yeah, deep cuts. Yeah.
And what's so besides your own stuff, and maybe you don't listen to your own stuff casually or recreationally, what are you listening to right now? What's on your personal player?
Honestly, I'm a big fan of I think you pronounce his name Lauf. I love his stuff. It's really unique. So that's kind of what's on my playlist now. But if I'm looking just like, if I'm cooking or whatever, I usually put on John Mayer. That's like my go-to, easy listening, kind of whatever at home. Yeah.
And what do you do when downtime? You're not touring, you're not writing, you're recording. What do you do when it's just your time?
Netflix with the wife. Yeah.
But not Netflix and chill.
No. A little bit.
What are you watching right now on Netflix?
Ozark.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've heard that's really good. That's on my watch list too.
Awesome.
All right, Tyler, thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for doing this.